Alright, boys. 13.10 mid-season patch by Riot Games. It is a lengthy one. There's a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff for us. For us top laners, for us Chunda players. There's a lot of stuff. Here are the changes that are coming. Buffs for these, new this, systems changed, adjusted these, and more. And definitely more. Just a lot of stuff. Jesus. Akshan, Kalista, Kindred. These are all Rageblade buyers, and I guess Riot wants them to not have the AP go away, so they're giving them AP ratios to buff their damage, and yeah, that's about it. Nico's getting a bit more damage. Vayne is getting also AP ratios. Yeah, I guess the Nico rework left her quite a bit underpowered or something, so they're buffing her a bit. So, Bloodthirster is same cost, same AD, same crit, 3% more lifesteal, and it gives AD now. I like this. This seems much nicer than just getting like a shield. It gives it more aggressiveness, it gives it more gameplay, like, oh, you don't just get a shield now. You actually need to keep your health up. Oops. You need to keep your health up to get more AD. This gives a lot of AD. It gives up to 95 AD, which is a lot of AD. Seems like an exciting item. Better or worse, depends on the situation, but yeah, I like the change. Big for us, Gale Force. So Tryndamere in mind. Same cost, 5 less AD, bummer, 5% less attack speed, another bummer. But we get 7% movement speed, which is a lot. This is a lot, and it will make you move much faster. Before you had to buy a Zeal extra on top of Gale Force if you want that 7% movement speed, but now the Zeal builds into it, so now Zeal will be a part of Gale Force and it will make you go faster. The active is 20 seconds less cooldown, so you can use it more often, and it's going to deal physical damage, but it's also going to deal more damage based on your crit, so the damage is going to be quite high, because Tryndamere also gets free crits from passive, obviously, but the fact that it's physical damage, again, if the enemy buys armor, Gale Force stealing physical damage kind of blows. So again, it's going to depend on who you're hitting. That's how much damage it's going to deal. But the damage number itself is definitely going to be higher. Okay, here's Rageblade. It's going to be a Mythic. It's going to be AP and AD. Less attack speed. It's going to give magic damage on hit. It's still going to do the crit conversion. And it's going to give the same or old passive, which gives you attack speed per stack. And at max stacks, every third attack applies on effects twice. I've been getting a lot of questions like, oh, what about Rageblade Tryndamere? What about Rageblade Jax? And my answer is no. No, don't do that. Don't do that. The reason is why is because it's a Mythic. So if you buy this Mythic, you are not getting Triforce, you're not getting Sunder, and you're not getting any HP from your Mythic, so I don't think it's very good to buy on either of these champions, especially on Tryndamere. Like, never ever on Tryndamere. Maybe some for fun build on Jax or something, maybe, but never ever on Tryndamere. I think ADC on hit ADC will be overpowered, and this will be largely thanks to this item. Heartbound Axe is gonna be 1100 and give 5 AD more. So the reason why they're doing this builds into Trinity Force and Strybreaker, and these are in direct competition with Goredrinker as fighter items. So why Goredrinker is sometimes, or very often actually, Goredrinker and Strybreaker are bought instead of Heartbound Axe instead of Triforce is because of Whip. Whip is extremely good, and you can get 30 AD from it and a nice active. And Heartbound Axe was just, what, 15 AD, so twice as less. It just felt kind of lackluster, like building up the Triforce just didn't feel very good. And it just felt nicer to just buy Whip. That's why they're buffing Heartbound Axe. I think this is a great change. It's going to be more matching with Whip now. And it's just going to feel nicer to build up the Triforce. Immortal Shield Boy is going to be legendary now. Much more cheap. No attack speed at all, though. And you don't get AD for proccing it anymore. You're going to get attack speed. And also the shield is less. It's less powerful. I think this item looks quite weak because it's no longer a Mythic even, and it gives no attack speed. So this item is now in direct competition with this item. And in my eyes, Bloodthirster is simply going to be better because both are, again, no attack speed items. Again, I don't consider this a proper attack speed item because the lifeline only triggers once you have procced the lifeline. So I think Bloodthirster is simply just a better shield bow. That's what I think. Okay, so Infinity Edge is going to be a Mythic now. And everything's the same except the Mythic passive will give you 580. That's basically it, nothing else. So it's just a Mythic now. Creature Shard, 15 AD, okay. Instead of 15% attack speed, this is much better. 15 AD is much better than 50% attack speed. And they compensated this by reducing the passive damage by 20, but it's still gonna be definitely a better item than it used to be. Big change. It's gonna be a legendary item now, no longer a mythic. 400 gold less, 25 less AD. That's a pickaxe worth of AD. 5% more attack speed, sure. And the passive will now deal magic damage. Every third attack applies 20 plus 60% total AD plus 45% AP bonus magic damage. Subsequent triggers on the same target within 6 seconds increases this damage by 50% up to a maximum of 100% increased damage. So it's up to double damage. So it's going to be up to 40 flat plus 120% total AD plus 90% bonus magic damage. I think this item, when I was testing it on PB, albeit I was in not the best environment, playing against very bad players with high ping in, kind of troll games, didn't really feel that great until you started hitting someone that with not a lot of MR with the subsequent triggers. Then you could really feel like the damage was not the worst. But again, that means you have to hit them again often. Like you need to hit them, 6 times? And then on the 9th time, I think it's definitely worse. But again, it's just a bit of a bummer that there is actually no defensive counterplay to Kraken, which is just having magic resist. There was no counterplay to true damage, obviously, so yeah. Sad to see that, but we'll see. Mercury Scimitar, just 10 more MR, a bit stronger. Mortar Minder, 5 more AD. Nice. Alright, Navora Quick Blades is now a mythic, and let me get right into it. Why this is not good for us is because Gale Force is still a mythic, which means that we will no longer be able to buy Gale Force Navori on Shinimir, or on any other champion for that matter. It will no longer be a possible combination, so say goodbye to Gale Force Navori combo. There's not much else difference here. Just like with IE, there's nothing different here, except there's like a mythic passive now. Okay, Noonquiver. Again, Noonquiver no longer builds into any mythic items. That's it. That's the update. Don't buy it expecting to build into a mythic because it won't. So what I was thinking about this is because in the past, or well, still right now, up until tomorrow, if you buy Noonquiver, you can't build any other mythics other than the mythics that build from Noonquiver. So I was thinking that with this change, that it could maybe be possible that people buy Noonquiver, like as a standalone item, but I don't think it's quite powerful enough for that. Noonquiver is strong on its own for sure, but I don't think it's quite strong enough for that on its own. Okay, Phantom Dancer, 200 gold more and 5% more attack speed, definitely a nerf. 200 or like 5% attack speed increase doesn't warrant a 200 gold cost increase. Just overall nerf to the item. A bit surprised about that, but okay. Rage Knife. This one is an interesting one. Total cost is 400 gold more. 25% attack speed is still there. Now it gives 20% magic or 20 magic damage on hit. Attacks grant 5% attack speed, stacking up to 3 times for maximum 15% attack speed. So that's 40 total with 20% magic damage on hit for 1200 gold. Seems very good. Seems very good to have this, and I was thinking of this as a standalone item for like Yone, Yasuo, maybe even Trinimir, or for other champions, but you cannot do that because again, this is a mythic component. So if you're buying this item, you cannot buy other mythics. You are locked into buying Rageblade as long as this item is in your inventory. So that's the downside of this. But it seems like a very strong item of Rageblade, which I already think is going to be OP, so definitely going to be nice for on-hit ADCs. Rapid Fire Cannon, 500 gold more, attack damage 30, 20% less attack speed, same crit, same movement speed, and the bonus damage is a bit higher later, but lower earlier. So I like this, giving it AD, giving those autos like a bit more oomph, which is what it's supposed to do, but also just making it more expensive to like actually be like a real item, like real item cost. I like this change. I think it's good, and yeah, I think it's just nice to have AD on an item like this. Makes sense. Recurve bow is 300 gold cheaper, 10% less attack speed, and bonus magic damage on hit instead of physical damage. This is a buff for recurve bow. The fact that you get it earlier, and you lose 10% attack speed, but that's totally fine because you get it 300 gold earlier, and the bonus magic damage, or it's bonus magic damage instead of physical, so this is definitely a buff to recurve bow. Okay, here's one of the winners of the patch. Runaan's Hurricane. I think this item is going to be overpowered. Total cost, 200 gold more. Attack speed 5% lower. But attacks will start applying a 30 magic damage on hit, and the bolts will be going up to 50% of total AD. Right now, before this patch, Jinx, for example, can already over double her damage with Runaan's, because two 40% total AD bolts will deal up to 80% total AD damage, right? Those bolts also proc her Q AoE, right? This item already on champions like Jinx or Twitch or Kog'Maw or whatever is already so ridiculous in so many situations, and people are just not buying this item for some reason. So what Riot did was like, alright, screw it. Let me just hard buff this item and maybe people will start buying it now. I just feel like the fact that it's 50% total AD per bolt now, and all bolts, again, both bolts apply on hit effects at 100% effectiveness, and they can crit. So I don't see how this item isn't OP. I feel like on hit ADC will be OP, and Rageblade Runaan's will be a very sick combo. That's what I think. Static Shiv, 3000 gold cost, 45 AD, 25% crit or attack speed, and 20% crit. And energized attacks, can't crit. Lightning cannot crit, guys. It used to be able to crit back in the good old days. Static Shiv could crit. It can't crit. I don't like it. I don't like this item. I don't think it's very good. It's 3000 gold for like decent stats, but I would rather, again, like buying this item, you might be looking at it and being like, oh, you know, it looks good, it looks nice. And sure, but think of it this way, you could be spending this 3000 gold on something else, something better. Everything is relative in League, so even if the item looks nice to you or it doesn't look terrible, again, this 3000 gold could be spent better. Stormrazor, 300 gold, more expensive, 10 more ID, same crit, same attack speed, and it's now gonna give you movement speed instead of slowing, which is much better. This makes much more sense than having like a slow on a hit to give movement speed. It makes much more sense. It is a very big movement speed buff. It's a 45% movement speed. It's almost as good as the proc from Mercurial Scimitar, and all of us have bought Mercurial Scimitar at least once, so we know how big of a fucking zoom that is. So yeah, this makes much more sense, and this item is actually pretty good now, I think. So could maybe even be buying it on Tryndamere. Who knows? We'll see. Just 6 lethality collector. Alright. Gonna be collecting more. Moving on. Zeal. It's a bit of a despair moment. Yes. 50 gold more. 5% attack speed less. 2% movement speed less. Big nerfs to Zeal. Triple nerf on an item that was already kind of delaying your item spike. So in some games when I'm playing like Tryndamere, like, oh, I'm going for a Zeal spike here because it feels nice on its own. But then I'm like, oh, but it's delaying my other items by quite a bit. It's over 1000 gold. Damn. I don't know if I should go Zeal here. But now, I don't think I even need to think about that. I think I'll just straight up not buy Zeal. Prowler's Claw is now going to be a legendary item, no longer a mythic. A bit less cost, 5 less AD, 5 less haste, 3 less lethality. No longer has the dash active, and now you're just gonna straight up deal more damage after a dash and blink and in itself. 10-second cooldown. These cooldowns are quite long, man. Okay, Yumu's is gonna be a mythic now. 100 gold more, 580 more, 5 haste more movement speed on the active, and it's gonna have a Dead Man's Blade passive now. So moving generates Spectre Charge up to 100. For each stack, gains 0.4 movement speed, maximum 40 movement speed, out of combat. A big thing in PB, it was out of champion combat. So you could still be in combat with minions, monsters, dragon, baron, whatever, and it will still keep the movement speed, but now it's straight up out of combat. So it's gonna be a bit different. At maximum stacks, gain 8 to 20 based on level lethality. This stack resets 3 seconds after dealing damage to an enemy champion while at maximum stacks. So it's still gonna allow you to like do your full combo or whatever, and still benefit from lethality. And also legendary items with 7 attacks damage instead of 5. For example, in IE it's 5, and here it's 7. So this item seems very good to me. Moving on, support item changes. I am only going to go through some of this. For example, Abyssal Mask, because this doesn't seem to be a support item to me. I don't know why it's in support item. I mean, now supports are more like they can buy this, but this item is OP. So 600 gold cost less, which is gigantic. 250 HP less, which is a lot as well. But same haste, 20 more MR. This passive is unchanged, and you do lose the healing mana gain thing. Yeah, this item looks really OP to me. It's 60 MR, 300 HP, and you reduce enemy magic resistance, and you gain magic resistance to yourself based on every enemy, and it's 2,400 gold. So I think buying this item, especially if you deal magic damage, is very, very, very good. Way too cheap for what it gives. I think 2,400 is so low, and I think finishing this item just gives you so much value. I think Riot needs to nerf this like quickly after it's released, but yeah, that's the winner of the patch. I will be skipping these support items. TLDR on the support items, it's just a bunch of cost reduction and like very small stat changes, but overall support item buffs, they're like reducing the cost on all of it. Also, Echoes of Helia is probably overpowered. It's the damage an enemy champion against Soul Shard up to 2 max, healing or shielding an ally, consumes all Soul Surge and restores 20 to 100 based on allies level health and deals 30 to 100 based on allies level magic damage per shard to nearest enemy champion. So if you're a support champion and you are dealing damage to an enemy champion, if you heal or shield allies, you're gonna deal damage to enemies, and you're gonna heal your allies just automatically, and there's no cooldown on this. So if you just stay in combat and you keep healing or shielding, this will keep proccing. So this seems very strong. But yeah, other than that, all these other support changes are like basically just lower cost and just overall buffing support, which is kind of weird to me. I don't know why they're doing that, but overall support seems to be getting buffed more. Okay, so moving on, Divine Sunder, 125% of base AD plus 6% goes to 106% of base AD plus 4%. I don't know. This is gonna what this actually means. I think it's gonna depend on who you're hitting. That if it's gonna be better or worse damage, but I'm gonna assume it's a bit worse. But you know, it's still gonna be healing you, and it's still gonna probably be a pretty strong item depending on the game. Fimbulwinter, no longer procs mana. That's good. I think that was kind of weird that it did that in the first place. Force of Nature, okay, 100 gold less. More HP, okay, that seems good so far. Magic Resist, 60, so 10 less, damn. Passive Absorb maximum stacks, 6 to 10, damn. That's way harder to proc. That's way harder to proc. Dissipate no longer gives multiplicative magic damage reduction, okay. Dissipate now grants 30 bonus magic resistance. So we went from 70 MR and 25% magic damage reduction to 60 MR and 30 bonus magic resist. Like, yeah, it's Rip Bozo, the Force of Nature. It's Rip Bozo. No reason to buy this item when you can be buying OP Abyssal Mask. Okay, Gore Drinker, 100 gold less and more HP from Mythic passive. Seems good. Item seems kind of poo-poo right now, so it's a good buff. Okay, here's for the big one. Here's for the big one, boys. 200 gold more cost on Hullbreaker, but 10 more AD and 5% movement speed. So why I think this is very, very big is because I think champs that buy Hullbreaker are kind of slow. Darius, Scion, Set maybe, Ilaoi, maybe even Trundle. I think all of these champions are kind of slow, so they're really gonna be enjoying the 5% movement speed. It is a good buff. This is gonna make Hullbreaker definitely a better item. Lord Dominic's Regards is gonna deal physical and magic damage increase. It's gonna be increased now based on maximum health difference. This is due to given to on-hit ADC, so if they want to buy Armor Pen, they're also going to buff their magic damage on hit from the Giant Slayer passive on LDR. Lost Chapter just straight up gets 200 gold reduction, which is huge. This is a big buff for Lost Chapter. I was kind of surprised about this, that it's like just straight up 200 gold less, but that's a big buff for Lost Chapter. Mages are enjoying right now. Maw, 100 gold less, more cooldown, and the shield is 2.5 seconds. I think it would have been better if it make it 3. I think 2.5 is maybe a bit too low. 3 would have been better, but I agree 5 was a bit too much. Ravenous Death Cap has kind of become an item that mages don't even really buy as much as they should. So they're buffing it, and I think this is good. I think mages or Ravenous should be like a core part of mages builds, but they're not really buying it. So buffing the passive a bit seems good, and I would like to see Ravenous back. When Lifeline triggers, the user will also gain 25% increased size and 30% tenacity for 8 seconds. Finally, some Sterak's buffs, man. I think the size is like whatever, but obviously the tenacity is very nice. It also lasts for 8 seconds, which is good. This is definitely gonna be able to help you with CC. If you're getting CC'd and bursted, tenacity is definitely gonna be helping you out with that. So definitely a deserved buff for Sterak's. Item was a bit bad, and now it's actually gonna be in decent competition with Cleaver. So we'll see how that pans out. Strybreaker, just 10 more AD. That's it. Awesome. I love it. I'm gonna be playing Strybreaker, Hullbreaker. The double breaker combo. The double breaker combo will be back. My copyrighted double breaker combo will actually be back next patch, baby. 10 more AD, huge buff. All right, and here's for another huge one. Is Trinity Force. So passive 2-second more duration. Very nice. Can you keep your stacks up easier? 5 more AD. And 5% attack speed and no cost increase. No downsides whatsoever, just 3 upsides. Very nice. I think Trinity Force will finally be in direct competition with Sunder, especially after this change. I think Sunder is just kind of a better Triforce, so this will definitely be very nice. It's a really nice change for Trinity Force, and they're going to increase the mana regen on Fountain, and I think that's good. I think very often you're kind of like full HP already, and then you're just like, come on, give me my mana, and then you just have to sit on your Fountain for a long time because you're trying to get your mana back, and just increasing the mana regen a bit is nice. I think 40 minutes is a bit too early. I agree, maybe 20 minutes is a bit too late, but 40 minutes is a bit too early in my opinion. I think you should have maybe made it like 18, maybe 16, probably 18 minutes. 14 is quite early, but we'll see how it works out. They also said that we'll be keeping an eye out on how this affects wave pushing and basing strategies. So they might be increasing the timer closer to 20 if it's too early. So we'll see how that pans out. Expect the first spawn of minions. Mid lane minions will... Oh, this is a huge one. This is probably the biggest change of the whole patch. Expect for the first spawn of minions. Mid lane minions will meet at the same time as side lanes. Side lane minions will be sped up. This falls off after 14 minutes. So this is obviously massive because mid lane wave hits much earlier than side waves. This will be massive. Gonna make roaming much harder and overall make being in lane more important because again minions are coming in much faster in early games. So I think laning in general and staying in lane is gonna be more important. It's gonna be a big change, and I'm kind of excited to see that how will this affect the game and if that's going to make a meta shift, what's going to be good, what's going to be bad. We'll see. Minions that are currently attacking an enemy tower will ignore call for help signals to target enemy champions. So what this means is, let's say you're playing Renekton, Tryndamere, something that's really great at diving, and you're stacking like 3 waves, and you're like, alright, I will be using these 3 waves to dive the enemy top laner. I will be using these 3 waves to dive the enemy top laner. And you go, the wave crashes, and you start hitting the enemy top laner, and the enemy top laner hits back. Now you would expect your minions to start hitting the enemy top laner, as they always do. No longer after this. This is what it is. When you're crashing waves, when you crash minions on your enemy turret, if they start hitting you, your minions won't care. So this will make diving also much harder, like much harder. And this will also have a big impact on how the game goes and how dives will happen, etc, etc. Turret plating, plate rusher and resistance is 20 seconds after taking a plate. 0 to 180 based on number of champions. 45 to 225 based on number of champions. Okay, so plates are just gonna be tankier. Plates will just be much tankier. And again, this will have impact on the game, how fast the game goes, and what's gonna be happening. I don't know. Well, again, it's hard to say, like, if it's good or bad or whatever. We're just gonna have to be playing the game and seeing, like, okay, are the plates like too tanky now, or is it like good? It's slowing down the game and people aren't snowballing as hard, and it has impact, but it's hard for me to tell if it's good or bad yet. But it's interesting. It's definitely gonna be changing the game a lot on like how everything is working. Farsight alteration. Farsight will now provide vision over walls within 500 units. Okay. Farsight will now ping enemy champions revealed on the minimap. Okay. Upon detecting an enemy champion for the first time, Farsight will ping the enemy champion on the minimap, expand its vision radius to 800 units, and then self-destruct. What? There's no way. So I just can't have this ward, like... There's no way. That is so bad. What? I like get a really nice blue ward somewhere deep into enemy jungle and they keep walking past it. Or they keep... No, they not keep walking past it. They like walk past it once. They walk past it once and it's just gone. Oracle Lens. If the owner of Oracle Lens is actively hitting a ward, their team will now gain vision of the ward so they can completely clear it out. What? Wasn't that the case? Wasn't that the case already? What? When you Oracle Lens, can't your team see the ward you're hitting? What is that? Oracle Lens will now have 2 charges. Oh. Is gonna be longer and duration is gonna be shorter. Interesting. Interesting. The duration is so much shorter now. Wow. It's an interesting patch and I am looking forward to it. Especially to the Strikepicker buffs, Hullbreaker buffs, their axe buffs, Trinity Force buffs. I'm looking forward to those. It is going to be different.